Actually, I don't think he has a better hand than mine. And I think he has something, so I will just go all in. He calls with pocket sevens. Wow, that's crazy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Oli JT Buron. If you don't know who I am, I'm a professional poker player playing mid to high stakes all the way up to 1k NL, and I'm trying to turn $50 into $10,000 starting at 2 NL. Right now we are at episode number 4, but unfortunately last episode I recorded, the session went lost since the recording was without audio. So I decided just to show you a couple of hands of last session. That was actually a losing session. I will show you the results somewhere in the screen. But I decided to show the 3 biggest hands that I played. The first one was this with pocket jacks, UTG limps. We have a ISO raise for 3 big blinds. I decided to 3-bet, cold call, and another call. Board is 7-5 deuce. Very safe board for jacks. We can always go for a value bet or a check raise. In this occasion, since this player was playing 12 big blinds, I was pretty sure it was gonna put this 12 big blinds into the pot, and then we can play a re-raise against the small blind. He goes for the 12 big blinds. We have a call, and then I decided to raise. Small blind calls. Turn is the 6. Of course, we're always going to jam on this turn. He continues, and they show up with pocket 10s, the small blind, and the random queen 9 from the under the gun, so we managed to win this one. Next spot, we actually lost the stack. We have a 3.5 open. I decided to go for a 3-bet. He calls. This was actually a pretty sick hand because I decided to go for a small size in this occasion with ace king, basically a value bet on his high card region. He decided to call. Run out was the 5. Of course, I'm not gonna have a lot of 6x. I don't think he's gonna have a lot of straights to the 6-2. So I decided to go for another small bet. Maybe he goes crazy, maybe random raises. This was actually the plan in game. He did raise to 50 big blinds, and of course we're never going to fold. And then on the deuce clubs, he jams. And now, of course, it's not that great, but we call, and he shows up with ace jack or a flush. So it was not bluffing on the turn. I mean, he kind of was, but it was a value bluff. I don't know. He shows up with a flush, and we lose this one. Pretty unlucky. And then the last one, this end with pocket kings. I decided to 3-bet my hand against the hijack open, and he calls. Flop is 9-5-4. Of course, pretty good board for our hand in this occasion. Decided to go for a small bet. Calls. Run out is the 6. He donk jams. Of course, we're never folding, and he shows up with ace-3 and makes a straight on the river. So very unlucky, very unlucky. But yeah, that was it for the recap. Unfortunately, I was not able to record this properly, so I will pay attention for the next one. So let's jump right into the next gameplay. So we're starting the session with 73 euros and 33 cents. So let's not waste any time and just jump at 2NL poker. Let's go. Let's start, starting with some folds. And hopefully we'll get to 85 euros as soon as possible, because I want to make the level up and play some Zoom at 5NL. It would be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen in this episode. Guess we'll never know. I'm going to open to 3 big blinds with 5 button. Okay, we have a single raise spot, ace-6-3 with the 5. We have some backdoor ideas. I think going for a small bet, just understand where we are in the hand against the weaker player. First milestone is actually really far. We have to get to 250 euros. We open pocket 8s, and we have a call from the big blind. We're gonna play just a small bet on a triplet board. Very unusual to see a triplet. Then we're gonna pot the turn and try to win as much as we can. And on the river, I will still go for a value bet, and we face a jam. Wow, very tough decision. I think I will fold this hand. I don't think he ever bluffs this situation. I mean, we have all the overpairs in our range. Don't think they bluff this kind of situation. He can have even a 9. This sucks, but I'm gonna fold. We lost a pretty big one in the very first few hands. We have this player who is in a hurry, not gonna wait for big blind. So we're gonna ISO raise 3 big blinds and a half. Could have gone bigger actually, especially with 7s. I don't mind winning pre-flop with 7s. 10-8 deuce, just gonna play check here. Try to win at showdown. Both player checks. River is a 10. Don't think they have a 10 that often. So I think we'll just win at showdown. I don't think I have enough to value bet here. So I will just check back and take my showdown. Nice. We win this 11 big blind spot. This limp spot, we flop second pair with additional equity. Flush draw, just gonna play passive and check. On the turn, feel like I can go for a small bet. There's some draws that can call, and I don't think they have an ace that often, so I will just try to go for a small bet and then just take my showdown. I don't think it's gonna call with a 9 example, so I will just check back. Get 5-4 with a gut shot, it's fine for me. I decided to open this Jack 10 offsuit from the cutoff, 3 big blinds, big blind calls, and now on 9-8-8, I'm just gonna play a small bet. Okay, we have a pretty big raise from the big blind. Usually here, recreational players, at least at higher stakes, they tend to go for a smaller sides with something like a pair and a bigger sides with strong draws and trips. Of course, we're gonna call on the flop, but I'm not feeling very good about this one. Luckily, we make it straight, but our opponent play checks. I think he has a 9, so I will just go for a small bet, 8 big blinds. I think he has a 9, maybe he has a queen, and he goes for the check raise. Wow. Actually, I don't think he has a better hand than mine, and I think he has something, so I will just go all in. He calls with pocket sevens. Wow, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Very nice, and we managed to win close to a stack. Here, I open 10-6 from the bottom, 3 big blinds, and we face a donk bet, a pretty small one. I think they're pretty weak and capped when they do this, so I will try to raise. Calls or not, it's the queen, and this is a pretty bad run out, because on the flop, I was trying to represent, of course, an overpair, but mostly a queen. Once the queen comes, it's pretty hard to represent the queen, and now it's just donk jams, so we're gonna fold. If I had something like pocket nines, of course I would have called, but unfortunately I just have an eye. I will basically have to always fold this hand. That's a pretty good start though, with the Jack 10 hand. This guy is completely crazy. Okay, we have another spot against this guy, crazy guy from before. He's 9. I'm just gonna play pretty straightforward against this guy, so basically just check my middle strength hand, bet when I have something that wants to bet, so this occasion I'm just gonna check the ace 9. Once he checks that fast on the turn, and being a player that it likely fast play all of his value hands, I will just go for a small bet on the turn. It's kind of a value bet, and 7 comes, we go check, and yeah, 6-5, completely fine for me. Basically, this kind of bet was made to deny some equity to his high card region, maybe some gut shot. We have an easy call here with pocket deuces, why not? Maybe we'll get a deuce. Nice. Okay, now we have some option. One is to check raise, one is to bet. I think they're both fine lines. I think though on 2NL I will go for a check raise more often than bet. I think we can see a lot of calls once they put money into the pot, and they do put money into the pot. We have 1 big blind on this player and a cold call, so we'll just try to go for a big bet, big raise. They both fold, unlucky. Here I decided to ISO raise from the big blind this ace 4 against the crazy guy, and now on Jack 7-5 we're just gonna go for a big bet with a flush draw. We don't have that much showdown with the ace 4. Now on the turn queen, I will just check my hand. This guy looks crazy, so he will put money into the pot himself. Unfortunately, he did not. Now once the jack comes, the easiest thing to do is to small bet, because if he has a jacks, he's gonna always raise. And if he has something weaker than a jack, he's gonna always call. So always try to make these small bets against these guys. If you make a bigger bet, maybe he calls anyway, but I will always try to make this kind of plays. And he called with, so he called with ace high, so that's why you make these small bets, because of course if he has a jack, he's gonna raise anyway. So that was the reason. I will never bluff this guy, by the way. And now he just lost his entire stack with ace high. I decided to ISO raise to 6 big blinds, this pocket 6s against the limp and another limp, and now we have a very good situation. Small blind calls and they both cold calls, and now I'm just gonna go for a pretty tiny bet. Such a strong hand, you want them to have something, maybe raise, we'll see. Of course I don't like a run out 4 or 5. Now he donk bets on the 10, pretty big bet. Do I want to call? I think it's draw heavy, so I will try to make something fun. Let's just go something like 39 big blinds, so he will continue with these draws. I don't want to give him free, not really free, but I don't want to give him that he chooses the size. So I will try to go for a raise. And now once the 4 comes and he quickly checks, I don't think he has a lot of 5x in his range, since most of his 5x would have just donk jammed. So I will try to go for team value, maybe he calls a 10. I don't think he has a lot of them, but we'll just try to go for it. If he has a 5, he has a 5, whatever. We're trying to win the max against hands that we do beat. If we're beaten, that's fine, since the player checked on the river pretty fast. I think with a 5, a recreational player would have always donk jammed. So that's why I make this value bet. But unfortunately, he folds. Very important to raise on the turn. Like, you can even jam, but I felt like it was draw heavy, so it would have not called with a draw. I decided to go 39. Maybe I could have gone something more, maybe 50, 55 big blinds, fine too. We open the pocket jacks. We have a few calls from behind. Do we want to bet or check this hand? I think it's kind of close. Being out of position, board is draw heavy. I will try to check. I don't think I have 3 streets of value anyway, so maybe we'll wait for a passive line and then we'll value bet the turn and probably the river too. I mean, some rivers, not all rivers. This is a pretty tricky one. I think they have a bunch of king X, but they have a lot of weaker hands, so I will try to go for max value and just go for a block. And if he raises, I'm probably gonna fold. He's gonna have some 9s too, so we'll just go 6 big blinds. And he raises, pretty quick raise, 15 big blinds. I don't think he does this with a random hand, so I will stick to my read and just fold. There are some situations where you want to always block call. This is not one of them. I think if he has a 2 pair, he just calls, and he doesn't have a lot of single pair hand that he can turn into a bluff, so I will just fold my hand. Here it's a limp spot with the queen jack. I think we are strong enough to raise against these 2 big blinds and a cold call. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it's good enough in a limp spot against recreational players. Fold, and this guy made a passive line on the flop, so I'm not really scared of this guy. I was more scared of this guy. The ace comes. I think we can check or small bet this hand. Let's go for check, and he pots. Wow, pot is a very under bluffed line from recreational players. With the jack we can try and call once, and we have some good implied odds. We can do this with a top pair. Okay, he had a flush and then just went check check. So unlucky, but it's fine for me. I mean, we still had a bunch of outs. I don't think he's bluffing a lot on this ace with a pot size bet, but I do think that we have enough implied odds to call. Here with the jack 10, I decided to 3-bet the ISO raise from this guy. This guy cold called, and now on the queen 7 deuce, it just goes all in. Unfortunately, gonna have to fold this. Queen 7, after check check, I will just always bet turn, and probably most rivers. I think if he had a king or if he had a good 9, I would have bet. So once he checks, I'm gonna go overbet, almost run out. I think they are very weak in this kind of lines. And he folds, nice. Okay, another limp spot here. 8-7 can go for a donk here in this occasion. Board is kind of dry, and I think 8-7 wants to deny equity, so I'll try to go for it. They both call, and now we have a donk pot on the 10. We're always going to fold this kind of hands. Donk pot is very underbluffed from recreational players, so I will just fold this middle strength hand. I don't care about the open-ender, since I have a lot of reverse implied odds, meaning that sometimes jack comes and I do lose against the higher straight. Could have ISO raised here. Decided just to go for a passive line. Now, once they check twice on the ace-2, I think they have just nothing. So even though I'm not a fan of this kind of stuff, I will just go 10 big blinds, and basically I need them to fold 80% of the time, something like that. And I think this will happen a lot, maybe less than 80% of the time. And they both folded, that's fine. Decided to open the ace-king. We face a pretty large 3-bet, 3x. Actually, it's not large. I think it's fine. And now we have some decision to make. We can jam. We can 4-bet. I think 4-bet is just better. I know the rake is high, I know that jamming is gonna be okay, but I like to 4-bet because they can call some random hands in these situations. Once it goes all in, of course, I'm never gonna fold. So let's try to win this one. Nice. We win the first one. Can we? Wow. Nice. 2 out of 2. So we recovered a bunch of EV from last session. That's pretty good. Running hot. Ace king versus jacks. Let's try to open pocket sevens here. We have small blind calls. This guy's playing a lot of hands, so I'm not afraid just to put a small size in with most of my range. As long as I do beat something on the board, I think it's always fine to bet. Now when the 8 comes, of course, just the middle strength end. We want to win a showdown against some 6. Let's try to take my showdown and my equity. Okay, this is something like half +1, and I think this might be a value bet, so I will fold this hand. I don't like it. Okay, we have a limp spot, and we have a top pair with additional equity, and I think I will always bet this hand, and I will go for 2/3. They do. They both fold. It's fine. Here I open the 7-9 from the cutoff. This guy was not into the table, and now I will stick to my third pot bet. Pretty fast call. I think it's kind of weak when he calls that quickly. We did take a lot of time to bet on the flop. Now on the turn, we just have a straight, so let's try to maximize, go for the bigger bet that we can do. We went 150, fold, that's fine. Not gonna play balance at all. When I have a straight, I'll try to X value. If he has a top pair, it doesn't want to fold. Second pair plus additional equity, a third pair with a flush draw. I don't care. I just want to play for stacks in this kind of situation at 2NL. Here, 9-8-7. We can go for a small bet. We can go for a check. This hand kind of wants to check. It's fine to small bet. And this is why you small bet. Now, he called and then went for one big blind. So I will try to go 22. Make it huge. I don't think he has anything. Maybe has some 7-6, 8-6, 9-5. Very, very, very weak hands overall. So I'll just go for a raise and expect a lot of folds between turn and river. And if the river breaks, I'm always going to jam. Here I open pocket kings, facing a call. I will go for a check raise this time. I think on mono boards, they can random stab. And if they do have something like a club in hand, I don't think they're gonna fold. So we'll just go 10 big blinds. He's in the tank. Okay, he calls. Long tank and then a call might mean that he has something that I wanted to fold or raise, or it's kind of not an easy call. By the way, my hand just wants to put money into the pot, so we'll just go 20 big blinds on the turn, hopefully getting called. I would not love to see a jam, but I still won't fold. He folds. So probably had something that it was not sure to call or fold on the flop by the timing. Here is a single raise pot, under the gun open 3x, small blind cold calls, we cold call. Now they went for the passive line and I will go for 11 big blinds. Here I think it works a lot. Calls, worst river in the deck, probably. Just gonna need to check this hand. Probably once he calls the turn, there's a lot of resistance to the bluff on the river. So I could have checked anyway, even if the river was something like a 7. And now he goes for a small bet. We'll just check fold. Not gonna try to fold him out full house. We have pocket 10s here. Let's see what happens. 3 big blinds. Let's just go 15. Wow. Kinda sucks. 3x raise. I think I'm gonna exploit fold here. Don't think he does this with ace king. Ace king feels like a jam. 3x can be ace king. Still a lot of aces, kings, queens wants to do this stuff. I will just fold. I don't think he's got a random hand. I think he has a premium hand, and pocket 10s doesn't play great. Of course, I'm not gonna play calls against that sizing, so either jam or fold, and I think it's just a fold. Don't overthink. Don't think he has 9s. Once you go like 15, 16 big blinds, if they had a hand like pocket 9s, ace king, something that we play good against, I think they would have just jammed. So once he goes 45 big blinds, feels like he wants to keep me in the pot, and he has some premium hand, so I'll just fold. Decide to open the pocket deuces and just go for a small c-bet. Facing a call, run out the jack. Was a bit of a tank and then a call, so I think he's got something. and I will not bluff because most of his Broadway stuff either is a 2-pair or a pair plus some equity. I will just try to check and probably just give up. Snap check on the river usually is a weakness, but they tend to check call a lot in this line. So I will just check back. Yet pocket 5s, it's fine. Pocket 8s against the 12, I think it's a fine call. Of course, we're not gonna play a lot of calls against 3 bets, but this guy looks somewhat of a regular of the stake, and pocket 8s just plays alright. Now 10-5-3 is actually a good board for him, and he goes for a snap check, so I will try to attack it with a pretty small bet. Of course, it's a value bet. Don't want to see a raise, of course. There's thinking a lot, so if he raises, I'm probably gonna jam. I don't think if you have something like pocket jacks, pocket queens, pocket kings, aces, and you go for the check call on the flop or the check raise on the flop, you already know you don't take a lot of time to do it. On the turn, we'll continue. Something like half pot, it's fine for me. I think we're just always ahead. Maybe sometimes, yes, pocket 9s. Overall, easy value bet, and he just naps fold. Very interesting stuff. We have a donk pot on 4-3-3. I'm just gonna do something big crazy. I'm gonna go for 18 big blinds. I don't think if you have a 3, you donk pot. And if you have a 4, will you be able to put all the stack in with a 4 or with pocket 5s or with pocket 6s, stuff like that? A lot of runouts are very easy to bluff for me. So I will just go for a raise. I don't think they're gonna be able to defend. He calls. Now the turn is actually pretty good for me. I don't think he has a 3 ever. So of course we're just bet. And now actually I was gonna go bigger if I had a bluff, and now I want him to call something like a 4, so I will just go off pot and quickly jams. This is bad, but I will not fold. I don't think he has a 3. I might look like a fool, but it's fine for me to look like a fool, and he has 8s. Good read for me. We managed to win another stack. Of course we got lucky here, so maybe it was not the best to do it as a bluff. As you can see, these kind of hands work even because you have some equity. Of course, I raised a random hand like Jack 5, but I still had 2 overcards to the 4. I had a backdoor flush draw. I had a backdoor straight, so still had some kind of interaction. I would have not raised a hand like a random hand, but still worked good for me. Sometimes you need to get lucky, still poker. I decided to ISO raise pocket 6s, just a small blind calls, and on king 10 deuce I will try to go for a small bet. Of course, generating some fold equity, it's fine on the flop. On the turn we have 2 options. One is to bluff, one is to take the showdown. Probably gonna take the showdown. It's gonna have a bunch of ace jack, queen 9, jack 9, stuff like that. Still high cards with some equity behind, still high cards. So we'll just check and take a look at the river. He snap checks. I think he has a 10, but I will not try to make him fold. So I will just check back and take my showdown. Sometimes he can have even a hand like pocket 5s or something worse than a 6, maybe ace deuce. That, yes, ace 10. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a 10 by the timing. Okay, we raise with pocket jacks from the button. We face a call and a 32 big blinds raise. We're just gonna gamble. Good luck us. Yes, queen 10, so random hand. Can we hold? Deuce. Nice. We even make a set on the river. We win another one. Limp spot, check on flop. I just value bet my hand on the turn. Don't think he has something better. And he raises. Kinda sucks. Think folding is fine. Let's just fold. They are usually very passive withdrawals. 2x open. I like to play 3 bets with this kind of hands. Usually you want to be polarized, but at these stakes, I don't mind having a good ace. They're gonna call with most of their ace-x region. For example, hands like ace-8 offsuit, ace-7 offsuit. So these kind of hands work a lot better as 3 bets than they should. In a limp spot, I will try to go for this block bet after check. Maybe they have some worst 9 that I want to call. Don't think anybody has a king, so works for me. I also raised king 4 against the cutoff limp. A big blind continued, and the board is king jack deuce. Gonna play a lot of small bets here, so just go for it. He calls. On the turn, do we want to bet or... yeah, we have 2 streets of value. Do we want to take it here or on the river? I think on the turn makes sense. On the river makes sense. We'll just roll. Let's do something like, okay, I'll go 50-50. Roll the 44. Here, you usually want to polarize and bet bigger. Since I think he's got a weak range overall, I was just being very depolarized. As you can see, I rolled the number here on the screen. That's something that professional players at higher stakes make to have an unexploitable strategy. Of course, you don't need this at 2NL, but since I thought both lines, both the check and the bet line were okay, I thought, okay, let's randomize. Maybe it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be our last hand for today. This pocket aces. Let's end the session maybe with... okay, I misclicked. I opened 3.5. It's fine. Maybe we'll end the session with a big pot with pocket aces. We'll see. We have 10 for deuce, monotone. I have aces with the aces diamonds, but I don't think checking it's a good idea. I just want to put money into the pot. I have a strong hand, 2NL. We face a jam. Let's try to win this last one. We call. He's got jack 10. Close to drawing that. Nice. We win this last one. Let's end the session here. And let's take a look at the results. So finish the session with 78.89 into the bankroll. So we are at €7 before we can play 5NL. We need to win €5 to get to 5NL. Let's take a look at the results. So actually we went a little more than 1 stack in EV, but managed to win €5.5. So some EV back. So that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you missed last week's episode, I will link it here. And I guess I'll see you in the next one.